some nights feel different, not because of what you see, but because of what you feel watching you back. At 3:33 a.m., a knock broke the silence. 3 knocks, then 3 more, and something inside me knew exactly who it was, even before I opened the door. This isn't just a story, it's a feeling, a memory that refuses to stay buried, and a presence that never really left. If you think you've heard stories like this before, you haven't heard this one, because once you hear it, it doesn't let you go. And if you want more stories like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what comes next. What would you do if the past came knocking? I don't believe in patterns, not in numbers repeating themselves, not in fate disguised as coincidence, and definitely not in ghosts. But every night for the past 11 days, I've woken up at exactly 3:33 a.m. No alarm, no noise, just my heart racing like it already knows something my mind refuses to understand. Tonight was worse because tonight someone knocked. 3 soft knocks, not loud, not urgent, deliberate, intimate. Like whoever stood behind my door knew me well enough to wait. I didn't move at first. I lay there, staring into the darkness of my bedroom, my breath shallow, fingers gripping the edge of the blanket. The red digits of my clock burned into my vision. 3:33 a.m. again. The knock came a second time. 3 taps. Pause. 3 taps. My throat went dry. No, I whispered to myself. It's just the pipes. Or the wind. Except there was no wind tonight. And I live on the 3rd floor. No balcony, no access, no reason for anyone to be outside my door at this hour. Another knock. This time slower. More certain. I forced myself to sit up, my entire body tingling like I was waking from a nightmare that hadn't ended yet. My feet touched the cold floor and I immediately regretted it, like I had just stepped into something unseen. "Who's there?" I called out. Silence. But not empty silence, the kind that feels occupied, like someone is holding their breath on the other side. I stood there for what felt like forever, every instinct screaming at me to stay still, to pretend I hadn't heard anything. But something stronger pulled me forward. Curiosity? No, it felt older than that, familiar. I walked toward the door slowly, each step heavier than the last. My hand hovered over the handle, trembling. And that's when it hit me. The scent, faint, but unmistakable. Smoke and rain. My heart stopped. No, that's impossible. I hadn't smelled that in years, not since. Another knock, this time right against the wood. Close, too close. And then a voice, low, hoarse, almost a whisper. "You still hesitate." My entire body froze. I knew that voice. Even after all this time, even after everything, my lips parted, but no sound came out. Because if I said his name, it would mean he was real. And he couldn't be real, he was gone. I watched him disappear with my own eyes. I buried the memory so deep, I convinced myself it never happened. But my heart recognized him instantly, and it betrayed me. Without thinking, I unlocked the door. The second the click echoed in the silence, I felt it, like something irreversible had just begun. Slowly, painfully slowly, I pulled the door open. The hallway was dark, empty, cold. For a moment I thought I had imagined everything. The knock, the voice, the scent, all of it. I almost laughed, until I looked down. Wet footprints, bare, leading from the stairwell, straight to my door. My breath hitched. They weren't fading, they were fresh. And they didn't stop at the entrance. They continued. Inside, behind me. I didn't hear him move. I didn't feel him pass. But I wasn't alone anymore. I knew that without turning around. My pulse pounded in my ears as a chill crept up my spine, slow and deliberate, like a hand tracing its way upward. You opened the door, the voice whispered again, right behind me, closer this time, too close. My fingers tightened around the edge of the door, knuckles turning white. I saw you die, I said, my voice breaking despite my effort to stay steady. A soft exhale brushed against the back of my neck, almost like a laugh. Did you? I squeezed my eyes shut. No, this isn't happening. This isn't real. But then his hand wrapped around my wrist, warm, solid, alive, and terrifyingly familiar. My heart didn't just recognize him, it reached for him. And that was the most dangerous part. Turn around, he murmured. I shook my head instantly. No, because I knew the second I saw his face, everything I spent years trying to forget would come rushing back. His grip tightened just slightly, not enough to hurt, but enough to make it clear. I wouldn't be able to ignore him, not anymore. You always were stubborn, he said softly. And there it was again, that tone, the one that used to make my chest ache in a way I never understood. I thought you wanted answers. My breath caught. Answers? God, I had spent years chasing them. Why he disappeared, why no body was ever found, why I was the last person to see him alive, and why I still dreamed of him almost every night. But this wasn't how it was supposed to happen. He was supposed to stay in the past, in memories, in nightmares. Not here, not standing behind me at 3:33 a.m. like nothing had ever ended. I moved on, I whispered. The lie tasted bitter the moment it left my mouth. Silence stretched between us, heavy. Then, so did I. Something in his voice changed. Colder, sharper, and suddenly, I wasn't sure which version of him was standing behind me. The one I loved, or the one I watched disappear into darkness that night. My pulse quickened as his fingers slowly loosened around my wrist, only to slide down, brushing against my hand in a way that sent a shock through my entire body. You should look at me, he said quietly, not a command, not a plea, something in between, something dangerous, because it made me want to, and I hated that. I shouldn't, I replied. Why? Because if you are real, then everything I believed was a lie. Because if you are real, then I never escaped you. Because if you're real, I never stopped loving you, but I didn't say any of that. Instead, I whispered, because you're not supposed to be here. A pause, then softer than before. But I am. My breath trembled, and before I could stop myself, I turned. I shouldn't have turned around. The moment I did, I knew there was no going back, not to the quiet, predictable life I had built, not to the version of myself that slept through the night without waking up at 3:33 a.m. with a heart that felt like it was remembering something it shouldn't. Because he was there, Not a shadow, not a trick of the light, not a memory stitched together by grief and denial. Him, standing so close I could feel the heat of his body against mine. For a second, my mind refused to process what my eyes were seeing. It tried to protect me, blurring the edges, softening the details, searching for anything that could explain him away. But my heart didn't hesitate. It recognized him instantly, the same dark hair, slightly longer now, falling carelessly over his forehead. The same eyes, except they weren't the same. They were darker, deeper, like something had settled inside them, something that didn't belong to the boy I once knew. "You're staring," he said quietly. That voice again. God. I had spent years trying to forget it, and failed. My lips parted, but nothing came out at first. My chest tightened, breath shallow, like the air between us had grown too thick to breathe. "You." My voice finally broke free, fragile and uncertain. "You're not real." He tilted his head slightly, studying me the way he used to, like he could see through every lie I told, especially the ones I told myself. "Still trying to convince yourself?" he murmured. "I saw you die," I insisted, louder this time, as if saying it with more force would make it true. "I was there. I watched you." "You watched me fall?" The correction was soft, but it hit harder than anything he could have said. My throat closed. Because he was right. I didn't see him hit the ground. I didn't see a body, just darkness swallowing him whole. And then, nothing. For years, I filled that nothing with certainty, with closure, with lies I needed to survive. "That doesn't change anything," I whispered, though my voice had lost its strength. His gaze didn't waver. "No," he said. "It changes everything." Silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. I forced myself to look closer, to really look at him. There were differences, subtle, but impossible to ignore. A faint scar along his jaw that hadn't been there before. The way his shoulders held tension, like he was always ready for something. Danger, maybe, or escape. And his eyes. God, his eyes. They still held traces of the warmth I remembered. But beneath it, there was something colder, something that had learned how to survive without light. "What happened to you?" I asked before I could stop myself. For a moment, just a moment, something flickered across his face. Not pain, not exactly, but something close. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you," he said. "Try me." A faint smile touched his lips, but it wasn't the kind I remembered. This one didn't reach his eyes. "That's the problem," he replied softly. "You already decided what to believe." I flinched, because he wasn't wrong. "I had to," I shot back, my voice rising despite the fear coiling in my chest. "You disappeared. No calls, no messages, no body, just nothing. What was I supposed to think?" "That I'd come back." The certainty in his voice made my stomach twist. "You didn't," I said. "I did." My breath caught. "When?" I demanded. "When did you come back? Because I was here. I waited. I looked for you. My voice cracked, and I hated that he heard it. "I didn't see you." Something shifted in his expression then. Guilt. Real, undeniable guilt. "I know," he said quietly. "Then where were you?" I whispered. He didn't answer right away. Instead, his gaze dropped, just for a second, to my hand. And that's when I realized I was still holding his. I hadn't even noticed when our fingers had intertwined. But now that I did, I couldn't let go, and that terrified me more than anything. You shouldn't be touching me, I said, though I made no move to pull away. Then why aren't you letting go? Because I thought I lost you. Because I spent years pretending you didn't matter. Because if I let go now, you might disappear again. I don't know, I admitted. His thumb brushed lightly against my skin. A small, almost absent-minded gesture, but it sent a wave of warmth through me, so sudden, so familiar. It hurt. I came back, he said slowly, but not the way you think. My chest tightened. What does that mean? Another pause. Longer this time, as if he was choosing his next words carefully or deciding how much of the truth I could handle. It means, he said finally, the night you think I died. His eyes lifted to meet mine again, dark, unreadable. Night everything started. A chill ran through me. Started? I echoed. He nodded once. You remember the bridge? My stomach dropped instantly. Of course I remembered. I had tried to forget. God, I had tried so hard. But some memories don't fade. They wait, patient, until something, someone, brings them back to life. It was raining, I said before I could stop myself. His gaze sharpened slightly. Yeah, he murmured. It was. The memory hit me all at once. The sound of the storm, the slippery pavement, the argument, the things we said, things we couldn't take back. You weren't supposed to be there, I whispered. Neither were you. I followed you, I admitted, my chest tightening. You left, and I knew something was wrong. You always did. There was something in the way he said it, something that made my heart ache. What happened after you fell? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. For the first time since he appeared, he hesitated, really hesitated. And that scared me, because whatever the answer was, it wasn't simple. You don't want that answer, he said quietly. I do. No, he shook his head slightly. You want the version that lets you sleep at night. I haven't slept in 11 days, I snapped. That made him pause. Something like concern flickered in his eyes. Because of me? I didn't answer. I didn't have to. He exhaled slowly, running a hand through his hair. An old habit that hit me right in the chest. I shouldn't have come like this, he muttered. Then why did you? His gaze returned to mine, sharp, intense, unavoidable. Because you opened the door. The words sent a strange chill through me. That doesn't make sense. It will. When? A small pause. Then, soon. I swallowed hard, my pulse quickening again. You keep saying things like that, I said, like there's something I'm missing. There is. Then tell me. He studied me for a long moment, like he was memorizing my face, or maybe saying goodbye. You are never supposed to remember me this way, he said softly. My chest tightened. What way? His eyes dropped briefly to my lips, then back to my eyes. Like you still belong to me. My breath caught. That's not... I started, but the words died in my throat. Because I couldn't finish the sentence, not without lying, not when my hand was still in his, not when my heart was beating like it had just found something it lost years ago. You feel it, he said quietly. It wasn't a question. and that made it worse. I shouldn't, I whispered. But you do. Silence. Heavy, dangerous. And then a sound, faint, from somewhere inside the apartment, a floorboard creaking. My entire body went rigid. I wasn't alone with him anymore. Someone else was here. His grip on my hand tightened instantly, not possessive, protective. Don't move, he said, his voice dropping to a low, sharp whisper. My heart slammed against my ribs. Who's that? I breathed. His expression darkened in a way that made my stomach twist. That's... He paused. For the first time since he arrived, he looked unsure. Not supposed to happen. The floor creaked again, closer this time, and whatever was inside my apartment, it wasn't leaving. I stopped breathing, not by choice. My body just forgot how the sound came again. A slow, deliberate creak of wood bending under weight that shouldn't be there. Closer. Inside my apartment. My fingers tightened around his instinctively, nails pressing into his skin like I needed proof he was still real, solid, here. Tell me that's just a building, I whispered. He didn't answer, and that silence told me everything. My chest tightened painfully. You said it wasn't supposed to happen, I continued, forcing the words out through a throat that felt like it was closing in on itself. What does that mean? Who's in my apartment? His jaw tensed. Not fear, not exactly, but something close to calculation. I need you to listen to me, he said quietly, his voice low and steady in a way that should have calmed me, but didn't. Whatever you hear, whatever you think you see. Another creak, closer, right outside the hallway leading to my bedroom. Don't react, he finished. A cold wave rushed through me. Don't react, I echoed, my voice trembling, despite my effort to stay quiet. There's someone in my home. Not someone. The correction was immediate, sharp, and it made my stomach drop. Then what is it? I asked. His grip on my hand tightened just slightly. Something that noticed you noticed me? My mind struggled to catch up. That doesn't even make sense. It will, he said again. That same answer, that same frustrating, terrifying promise. Another sound, a soft drag this time, like something brushing against the wall, slow, searching. My entire body locked up. Instinct screamed at me to turn, to look, to face whatever was moving through my apartment. But his hand tightened again. A warning. Don't, he murmured, so close I could feel his breath against my temple. I need to see. No. The firmness in his voice stopped me, not because he raised it, but because something in it broke. Like he wasn't just telling me what to do, he was begging me. If you look at it before it understands what you are, he continued, his voice barely audible now, it'll understand too much. My heart pounded harder. What I am, I whispered. What does that mean? He didn't answer. Instead, he turned his head slightly, listening. The movement inside the apartment stopped. Completely. Silence dropped over us like a heavy curtain. Thick, oppressive, wrong. And somehow that was worse. It hurt us, I breathed. No, he said quietly. A pause. Then it felt us. A chill slid down my spine. Felt, not heard, not seen, felt. Like we weren't just bodies standing in a space anymore. Like we were something else entirely. Something noticeable, something out of place. My pulse roared in my ears. "What does it want?" I asked. His answer came slower this time, careful, measured. "You." My stomach twisted so sharply it hurt. "Why me?" Another pause, and for the first time he hesitated in a way that didn't feel controlled. It felt real, like he didn't want to say it. "Because you opened the door," he said finally. The words hit harder this time. Not confusing, not vague, just wrong. "I open my door every day," I whispered. "Not like that." My throat tightened. "Then how?" His fingers shifted against mine, grounding, steady. "You opened it while thinking about me," he said quietly. My breath caught. "And that matters because you remembered." The silence that followed felt heavier than anything before it. Remembered. Not just thought, not just missed, remembered. As if that one moment, standing there, hand on the door, heart racing, had done something more than just bring back a memory, as if it had reached somewhere or called something back. The air in the apartment shifted, subtle but unmistakable, like the temperature dropped a few degrees, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. And then a sound, right behind me, from inside the apartment, close, too close. A soft inhale, not mine, not his, something else, something that didn't breathe the way we did. My entire body went rigid. It was right there, just beyond the threshold. If I took one step back, I would be inside, with it. His grip on my hand tightened sharply. "Stay exactly where you are," he whispered. I nodded, even though he couldn't see it. My eyes were locked on the darkness behind me, the hallway, the space where nothing should be, and yet something was. "You said it felt us," I whispered, barely moving my lips. "Does that mean it can't see us?" A pause, then, "Not the way you think." That didn't help at all. The air shifted again, closer, and then a voice, not like his, not human, not even broken, just wrong, soft, echoing, like it was speaking from too many places at once. "You let him in." My blood ran cold. It wasn't asking, it was stating a fact. "You weren't supposed to," it continued, the sound stretching unnaturally between syllables. "He doesn't belong here." My heart slammed against my ribs. My fingers tightened painfully around his. He didn't belong here. Then where did he belong? And what did that make him? "I told you not to react," he whispered quickly, his voice tense now. "I'm not. Your heart is." That shut me up instantly. Because he was right. It was racing, loud, wild, like it was trying to respond, to answer. The thing behind me shifted again, closer. "You remember him," it said, my throat closed. "Stop," he murmured under his breath. "Not to me, to it." "You shouldn't have come back," the voice continued, ignoring him completely. "You were already unfinished." A strange, cold weight settled in my chest. Unfinished? What did that mean? My grip on his hand tightened again, desperate now. "What is it talking about?" I whispered. He didn't answer, because he couldn't, or wouldn't. "You left something behind." The voice went on, softer now, almost curious. "And now it's still attached." My breath hitched. Attached to what? To me? suddenly. His hand pulled mine sharply, forward, away from the doorway, away from the thing behind me. Inside, now, he said under his breath. My instinct screamed no. Everything in me resisted stepping into the apartment, into the dark, into whatever was waiting just beyond sight. But I moved anyway, because his grip didn't give me a choice, and because, for some reason I didn't understand, I trusted him more than I feared it. The moment my foot crossed the threshold, the air changed, completely colder, heavier, like I had stepped into something that wasn't just a place anymore. The door behind us slammed shut on its own. I gasped, spinning instinctively. And that's when I saw it, not clearly, not fully, but enough. A shape, tall, distorted, standing at the end of the hallway, not solid, not stable, like it was made of shadows that couldn't decide what they wanted to be, and its head tilted, watching me. My breath caught in my throat. I told you not to look, he said sharply. Too late. It already knew, because the moment my eyes met it, it smiled, not with a face, but I felt it, and that was worse. Now you see me, it whispered. My heart dropped. So now I can see you. A cold rush exploded through my chest, like something had just locked onto me. His hand tightened painfully around mine. We need to move, he said quickly. But I couldn't. I couldn't move because something invisible, something cold, had wrapped around my ankle, holding me in place. My breath broke into panic. I can't, I gasped. It's something's. I know, he said, his voice sharp now, urgent in a way I hadn't heard before. Don't fight it. Don't fight it? I nearly choked. Trust me. My vision blurred with fear. Why should I? Because the last time I trusted you, you disappeared it. The words didn't come out, but he heard them anyway. I saw it in his eyes. For a split second, something raw cracked through the cold exterior he'd been holding. Because I didn't come back alone, he said quietly. My breath hitched. What? His gaze flicked toward the thing at the end of the hallway, then back to me, dark, serious, and filled with something I couldn't quite name. And if it takes you, he continued, his voice dropping lower, you won't come back the same either. The pressure around my ankle tightened, pulling, slowly dragging me toward it. My heart slammed violently against my ribs. Do something, I cried, and for the first time since he appeared, he looked afraid, not of it, of losing me. Then don't let go, he said. His hand tightened around mine, and everything, the room, the air, the shadows, seemed to hold its breath. Then don't let go. His words didn't feel like advice. They felt like a warning, a last one. Because the thing wrapped around my ankle tightened again. Cold, invisible pressure digging deeper, pulling harder, dragging me inch by inch across the floor. My nails scraped against the wood as I tried to resist. I said don't fight it, he snapped, his voice sharper now, urgent in a way that made my chest tighten. How am I not supposed to fight this? I gasped, panic tearing through every word. It's pulling me. I know. Then do something. I am. My breath hitched because he wasn't trying to pull me back. He was stepping forward, toward it. My grip on his hand tightened instinctively. What are you doing? Fixing what I broke, he said quietly. The words sent a chill deeper than anything that thing had done. What does that mean? I demanded. But he didn't answer. Instead, he moved closer to the end of the hallway, closer to that shifting, watching shape. And it reacted. The shadows around it twisted slightly, like something inside them had just noticed a change. You shouldn't move, it whispered, its voice stretching unnaturally through the air. She's already marked. Marked. The word hit me like ice water. A breath stuttered. What does it mean I'm marked? I whispered, my voice breaking. His hand tightened around mine, not enough to hurt, but enough to ground me. It means, he said, his eyes still locked on it. You were the last thing I held onto. My chest tightened painfully. I don't understand. You will? That answer again, but this time it wasn't dismissive. It was heavy, like it carried something he didn't know how to say. The pressure around my ankle shifted, less pulling now, more holding, like it wasn't trying to drag me anymore, just keep me where I was, like it was waiting, watching. You left her there, the thing said, its tone almost curious now. At the edge. A sharp breath left his chest. Not fear, not surprise, recognition. I didn't leave her, he said quietly. You let go. The words echoed, and something inside me cracked. Because suddenly, the memory wasn't blurry anymore. It wasn't distant. It was right there. Sharp, clear, alive. The rain, the bridge, the argument, his hand in mine, slipping. I didn't let go, I whispered, my voice shaking. But even as I said it, my chest tightened because I remembered the moment, the hesitation, the fear. I tried to pull you back, I said, louder now, desperate. You were the one who stepped back. I stepped back because you told me to. My breath stopped. The world tilted slightly. No, I shook my head immediately. That's not. You said you were scared, he continued, his voice calm but cutting straight through me. You said you couldn't do it anymore. My heart pounded violently. That's not the same thing. It was to me. Silence crashed between us, heavy, suffocating. The thing at the end of the hallway shifted again, almost pleased. You broke the bond first, it whispered. My stomach dropped. Bond? What bond? I asked, barely able to get the words out. He hesitated, just for a second, then. The one that kept me here. My breath caught. What do you mean, here? His eyes flicked toward the shadows, toward it, then back to me. When I fell, he said, slowly, I didn't die. Relief hit me so fast it almost hurt, but it didn't last. I just didn't stay where I was supposed. The relief twisted into something else, something colder. Where did you go? I whispered. The thing answered before he could. Between, it said softly. The word echoed in a way that didn't belong in any normal space. Between what? Life and death? Memory and reality? I wasn't alone there, he continued, his voice lower now. Nothing ever is. The air in the apartment grew heavier, like something invisible was pressing down on everything. And it found you, I said, my voice barely steady. No, he corrected quietly. A pause, then I found it. The silence that followed was suffocating. Because that was worse, so much worse. He asked for a way back, the thing whispered, its voice curling through the space like smoke. And I gave him one. My grip on his hand tightened painfully. What did you do? I asked, fear lacing every word. He didn't look away this time, didn't avoid it. I made a deal. Of course he did. Of course that's what this was, a deal. Something taken, something owed. What kind of deal? I whispered. His jaw tensed. The kind that doesn't end when you come back. A cold realization settled in my chest. That's why it's here, I said slowly. He nodded once. Yes. And I'm… What? My voice cracked. Part of it? His silence answered before his words did. You were the anchor, the thing said softly. My breath hitched. Anchor. You remembered him, it continued. So now you hold him here. The room spun slightly. No, I shook my head. No, I didn't. You opened the door, it reminded me. Again, always that. You let him in. My chest tightened painfully. And now, it whispered, closer, so much closer. You belong to the same space he does. The pressure around my ankle tightened again, not pulling, not dragging, claiming. I don't belong to anything, I snapped, panicked, breaking through. Its presence shifted. Amused. You will. Before I could react, his hand tightened sharply, and suddenly, the pressure around my ankle snapped. Gone. Just like that. I stumbled forward with a gasp, crashing into him. His arms caught me instantly, pulling me against him in a way that felt instinctive, protective, real. Too real. My heart slammed against his chest, and for a second, everything else disappeared. The fear, the shadows, the thing watching us, all of it. Because he was here, alive, holding me. You shouldn't be able to break it that easily, the thing said, its voice sharper now. His grip around me tightened slightly. I told you, he said quietly. I didn't come back alone. A chill ran through me. What does that mean? I whispered against his chest. He exhaled slowly, and I felt it, not just his breath, something else, something deeper, something that didn't belong to him before. It means, he said softly, his voice right above my head. I'm not the only thing that crossed over. My heart dropped. What else came with you? He didn't answer immediately, and that pause, that hesitation terrified me more than anything, because whatever it was worse than the thing in the hallway. Slowly, reluctantly, he pulled back just enough for me to look up at him. His eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw it clearly. Not just darkness, not just pain, something else, something moving behind them, watching, waiting. You're starting to see it, aren't you? The thing whispered. My breath caught. Because I was, and I wished I wasn't. I saw it, not clearly, not completely, but enough to know it was there, something moving behind his eyes, subtle, shifting like a reflection that didn't match the light. And once I noticed it, I couldn't unsee it. My breath caught, my body going still in his arms, as a quiet, instinctive fear crawled up my spine. What is that? I whispered. His gaze didn't break from mine, but something in his expression changed. Not surprise, not confusion, recognition. You weren't supposed to see it this soon, he said quietly. My stomach tightened. That's not an answer. I know. Then give me one. A pause. Long, heavy, like he was deciding something that couldn't be undone. Behind us, the thing in the hallway shifted again, restless now, its presence pressing in, sharper, more aware. She's noticing, it whispered. She. My chest tightened. She always does, it added, almost fond, something about the way it said that made my skin crawl. Stop talking about me like I'm not here, I snapped, my voice breaking through the tension. It didn't respond, but I felt it, watching, waiting, listening, and then his hand moved, slowly, carefully, not letting go of me, but lifting, his fingers brushing lightly against my temple. The moment his skin touched mine, something snapped. Not physically, not visibly, but inside my head. A sharp pressure exploded behind my eyes, and suddenly, I wasn't in my apartment anymore. I was somewhere else. Dark, cold, endless. The air felt wrong, thicker, heavier, like breathing through water. What is this? I tried to speak, but my voice didn't sound like mine. It echoed, too far, too distorted. This is where I was. His voice came, not beside me, but everywhere at once. The space shifted, not moving, changing, like it wasn't stable enough to stay one thing. This is between, he continued, where things don't fully exist, but don't disappear either. A chill sank deep into my bones. Shapes moved in the distance, not walking, not crawling, just drifting, watching, waiting. My chest tightened painfully. They're all not alive, he finished. Not dead either. The realization hit hard. They're stuck. Yes, my breath trembled. Like you were. A pause. Then, yes. Something moved closer, faster than the rest, different. I felt it before I saw it. A presence, sharp, focused, locked onto me. And then I saw her, or at least something that felt like her, not human, not fully formed, but there was a shape, a silhouette, that almost resembled a girl. Tall, thin, edges flickering like broken shadows trying to hold together. My heart stuttered. Why does she feel familiar? I whispered. Silence. Then, because she is, he said. My chest tightened. No. Yes. The thing tilted its head, mirroring something, something I knew, something I had done before. No, I repeated, shaking my head. That's not possible. But it was, because the longer I looked at it, the more it shifted, the more it aligned. Not with him, with me, my posture, my height, the tilt of my head, even the way it stood, hesitant, guarded, watching, like I was watching it. A cold realization crashed into me. That's not something you brought back, I whispered. No, my breath hitched. It's something you left behind. The words didn't come from him, they came from her, from it, from the thing that shouldn't exist. My mind reeled. I didn't leave anything, I said, my voice shaking. You did, it whispered softly. The space around us darkened slightly, like it was reacting to the truth. On the bridge, it continued, when you let go. I didn't let go, I snapped, panic rising. You hesitated. The word hit harder than anything else. Because it was true. For a second, just one, I did. I was scared, I whispered. And that fear stayed, it said. The shape flickered, stabilized, became clearer, not fully human, but closer. Closer than before. You walked away, it continued, but part of you didn't. My chest tightened painfully. That's not how it works. It is here. The world around us pulsed once, like a heartbeat, deep, slow, wrong. And when he came looking for a way back, it said, its voice softening slightly. He found me. My stomach dropped. No. Yes. I turned sharply toward him. You didn't just make a deal, I said, realization crashing in. You found this. He didn't deny it. I didn't know what it was at first, he said quietly. But you took it with you. I had to. Why? His expression cracked slightly then, something raw slipping through. Because it was the only way to find you again? My breath caught. That doesn't make sense. It does here. The space around us shifted again. The thing, the version of me, stepped closer, and I felt it. Not fear, not exactly, recognition, like looking at something I had buried so deep I forgot it existed. What does she want? I whispered. His answer came softer this time. Not what? A pause. Then my heart pounded. Me? Yes. Why? He didn't answer. Because she did. Because I'm incomplete, she said softly. The words echoed through the space, through me. And you are the part that left. My breath trembled. No. Yes. The air tightened around me. You moved on, she continued. You forgot. You lived. Her voice shifted. Not angry, not cruel, just hollow. I stayed. A sharp ache spread through my chest, like guilt had taken physical form. You don't understand, I whispered. I do. She stepped closer, closer, until she was right in front of me. And I saw it, clearly. Her face was mine, not exact, not perfect, but enough. Enough to make my stomach twist. You're what's left of me, I said. Yes. And if I stay here, you won't have to feel anything again. My breath caught. No fear, no guilt, no regret, just nothing. A dangerous kind of peace. And if I don't? Her expression didn't change, but something behind it did. You'll keep breaking him. My chest tightened sharply. What? I turned toward him again. What is she talking about? He didn't look at me. That was the first answer. When I came back, he said slowly, I wasn't whole either. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? His jaw tightened. I left something behind too. My pulse quickened. What? He finally looked at me, and whatever I saw in his eyes made my heart sink. Everything that knew how to let you go. Silence. Heavy, devastating. So what came back? I whispered, my voice barely there. Is the part that couldn't. He didn't answer. He didn't need to, because I understood, and that made everything worse, because now it wasn't just something following him, or something tied to me. It was both, and neither of us was whole anymore. The space around us pulsed again, stronger this time. Unstable? You can't stay here forever, he said quickly, his voice cutting through the moment. Why not? I asked, still staring at her. Because the longer you do, he hesitated. Then, the harder it becomes to tell which version of you gets to leave. My heart dropped. What? But it was already happening. I felt it. Something pulling at me again. Not my body this time. My mind, my sense of self. Like the line between me and her was starting to blur. And she smiled. Gently. You already feel it, don't you? I did. And that terrified me. I felt it. That pull. Not on my body anymore. Deeper, inside my mind, like something was quietly rearranging me from the inside out. My vision blurred as the space around me began to pulse, unstable, shifting between what felt like reality and something else entirely. Between me and her, between who I was and who I was becoming. No, I whispered, clutching my head, my breathing uneven. This isn't This isn't real. But it was, and worse, it was happening too slowly to stop and too fast to understand. You're resisting, she said, softly, standing in front of me. My reflection, my shadow, my echo. Her voice wasn't cruel. It was tired, like she had been waiting for this moment longer than I could imagine. I don't want this, I said, my voice breaking. I never wanted any of this. None of us do, she replied. Her gaze shifted slightly toward him, toward the one who stood silently beside me, watching, waiting, breaking in ways I couldn't fully see yet. And yet, she continued, we're still here. The space pulsed again, stronger, the boundaries between that place and mine thinning. I made a mistake, he said suddenly, his voice low but firm. I shouldn't have brought her here. Too late, she whispered. And I felt it, a shift, like something irreversible had just clicked into place. My chest tightened. What happens now? I asked. The question hung in the air, heavy, final. No one answered immediately, because the truth wasn't something you say out loud. It's something you face. Slowly and painfully. He stepped closer to me, closer than before, not like a stranger, not like someone afraid, but like someone who had already lost me once and wasn't ready to lose me again. You need to decide, he said quietly. My breath hitched. Decide what? Which version of you gets to exist? My heart stopped for a second. That's not a choice, I whispered. It is here. Her voice overlapped his, perfectly in sync, like we were one thought split into two bodies. And the longer you stay, she added, the more you become both. My hands trembled. I don't want to become anything, I said. A pause. But you already are. The words landed heavy, not as a threat, but as truth. I looked at him, really looked. At the man I thought I lost, at the person who came back, changed, incomplete, just like me. What about you? I asked quietly. If I leave, what happens to you? For the first time, he looked unsure, and that was the answer I feared most. I don't go back the same, he said. My chest tightened. What does that mean? It means... He hesitated, then exhaled slowly. One of us has to stay behind. Silence, crushing. No, I shook my head immediately. No, that's not happening. It already is, she said softly. I turned to her. And what about you? I asked. What do you want? For a moment, she didn't answer. Then, I want to be whole. The words were simple, but the weight behind them was everything. And I'm the missing part, I whispered. She nodded. Yes. The room seemed to hold its breath, everything waiting, watching, pressing in. So if I leave, I said slowly, you disappear? She didn't hesitate. Yes. My chest tightened painfully. And if I stay, you become me. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full, full of consequences, full of choices that couldn't be undone, full of a truth that no one could escape. I looked at him again, really looked. At the man who came back from something no one was supposed to return from. At the one who crossed through something he shouldn't have survived. At the one who stood in front of me now, still fighting, still holding on. You shouldn't have come back, I whispered. A faint, almost broken smile touched his lips. I know. But you did. Yes. My heart ached. Why? He looked at me, and for the first time, there was no hesitation in his eyes. Because I couldn't live in a world where you didn't exist, he said quietly. The words hit deep, too deep. I closed my eyes for a moment, breathing, thinking, feeling everything all at once. The fear, the love, the loss, the possibility of becoming something else, and the cost of staying the same. When I opened my eyes again, I had already made my decision. I'm not going to disappear, I said softly. Her expression shifted, subtle, but real. Then what are you going to do? She asked. I looked at her, then at him, then back at myself, and I understood something important, something terrifying, and something freeing. I'm going to integrate. Silence, confusion. What? He said. I'm not going to fight her, I explained, and I'm not going to replace her. I took a breath, deep, steady. I'm going to accept what happened, all of it. Her eyes flickered slightly, and become something new. The space around us trembled. Careful, he warned softly, but I didn't stop, because for the first time, I wasn't running. I don't want to forget you, I said to him, and I don't want to lose myself. So I'll carry both. A tear slipped down my cheek, and I'll live with it. The room grew still, completely still. Then she stepped closer, and for a moment I thought she might resist, fight, pull me into her, but instead she smiled. Soft, sad, relieved. Finally, she whispered. And then she stepped into me, not violently, not forcefully, just merging, like two halves finally deciding to stop fighting. My breath caught as warmth spread through my chest. Not pain, not loss, but something new, something whole. The world around me flickered, then stabilized. I gasped, my hand flying to my chest as I felt different, but not gone. Still me, but more. When I opened my eyes again, she was gone, but not erased, not destroyed, just part of me now, integrated. His hand was still holding mine, tighter than before. What did you just do? He whispered. I looked at him, and for the first time since everything began, I smiled. Something neither of us could do alone. His expression softened. Relief, fear, hope, all at once. You're still here, he said quietly. I am. A pause. Then, are you sure? He asked. I looked down at our hands, at the connection that had survived everything. And I understood something important, something simple, something powerful. Yes, I said, because I chose to be. The world around us began to shift again. The space between worlds, closing, ping, we were being pulled back. But this time, I wasn't afraid, because I wasn't going back alone. I wasn't coming back broken, I was coming back changed, whole, the cost, everything I was, the gift, everything I became, and as the darkness faded into light, I held on to him, not as someone who needed saving, but as someone who had finally learned how to stand. And if there's one thing you should take from this, It's that some doors should never be opened out of fear. Some should never be opened out of longing. But the most dangerous ones are the ones we open without realizing what we're inviting back into our lives. And sometimes, what comes back is not meant to destroy you, but to reveal who you really are. If you made it this far, you didn't just watch a story, you experienced it. And that means something. So if you felt even a fraction of what I tried to create here, subscribe. Share this story with someone who needs to feel it too, because some stories aren't meant to stay silent. They're meant to be heard and remembered, just like this one.